Welcome, traveler, to another night of timeless tales. You've just arrived at Sleeping Legends, where stories from the shadows of history come to life beneath the stars. But before we begin, tell us, where are you watching from? What country do you call home? And what time is it right now in your corner of the world? Drop it in the comments. We love seeing how far our legends travel. Was it just wool and firewood? Or was there more to their quiet strength? Get cozy, wrap yourself in a blanket, and let's uncover the clever, sometimes surprising ways they endured those frost-bitten hours. If you enjoy stories like this, ancient, strange, and soothing, don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to Sleeping Legends, and tap the bell so you never miss a midnight tale. Be sure to check out our other stories waiting just for you. Tales of forgotten kings, haunted castles, and myths whispered through time. Tonight, we're diving into history's biggest screw-ups. And no, I'm not talking about texting your ex at 2 a.m. I mean mistakes so colossal they reshaped entire civilizations. Forget Hollywood's clean-cut version, real history. It's messy. It stinks of gunpowder, burning cities, and bad decisions made by very confident men in very silly hats. So before you get too comfortable, smash that like button if you enjoy this kind of deep dive, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Now dim the lights, maybe grab a snack, and definitely don't think about how often you've accidentally hit reply all. You're about to feel better about your own mistakes. All right, let's jump in. The wooden horse you shouldn't have trusted. You wake up in ancient Troy. The air smells of sweat, smoke, and victory. After 10 years of war, the Greeks are gone. All they've left is a giant wooden horse. Do you A, burn it, B, push it off a cliff, or C, drag it inside the city walls and throw a party? Trojans picked C, bad call. Spoiler, the horse wasn't IKEA furniture, it was a Trojan time bomb. Greeks popped out at night, city burned, end credits roll. This is history's version of opening a suspicious email attachment, except instead of a virus on your laptop, your entire civilization gets deleted. Tell me in the comments, would you have fallen for the horse trick? Or would you have been the paranoid friend saying, guys, maybe don't? The Pope who accidentally split the world, fast forward to 1494. Spain and Portugal are squabbling over who gets to steal which parts of the New World. The Pope, in his infinite wisdom, draws a line down the globe. One half for Spain, one half for Portugal. Problem solved, right? Except no one had accurate maps. He literally guessed. And boom, Portugal ends up with Brazil, Spain with basically everything else. Imagine dividing your apartment with your roommate by drawing a line with your eyes closed. This one line shaped entire languages, cultures, even today's politics. All because one guy had a ruler and zero patience. Quick poll. Have you ever solved a group project with a dumb quick fix? Yeah, same vibe. You're Napoleon. You've conquered most of Europe. You're feeling invincible. What's next? Oh, just invading Russia. In winter. Snow frostbite, wolves, starving troops. Picture it. Frozen bodies on the roadside, soldiers boiling horse meat for soup, the air sharp enough to slice your lungs. Out of 600,000 troops, only 100,000 stagger home. This was the historical equivalent of saying, yeah, I'll just run a marathon without training, in flip-flops, during a blizzard. Note to self, never fight Russia in winter. Looking at you too, Hitler. Flash to 1986, you're a Soviet engineer. It's midnight. You're told to run a safety test on a nuclear reactor. What could go wrong? Everything. Valve stick, controls fail. Alarm scream, then boom! Reactor explodes, sky turns radioactive, birds fall dead, mid-flight. The town of Pripyat smells of burning graphite and death. And the worst part? The whole disaster came down to human error. People ignoring warnings, people cutting corners, people saying, it'll be fine, famous last words. Honestly, the next time you hit snooze instead of getting up, just remember, at least you didn't trigger a nuclear meltdown. So what's the takeaway here? History wasn't shaped by flawless genius. It was shaped by mistakes. Sometimes small, sometimes catastrophic, but always very human. We're all just winging it. From dragging in wooden horses to drawing dumb maps to pushing the wrong button, the world is basically a giant group project where no one reads the instructions. So here's my question for you. What do you think is the biggest human mistake still shaping our future today? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this ride through disaster, hit that like button. Share this with a friend who loves dark history, and subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive. I'm talking about the colossal mistakes that didn't just ruin someone's day. They rerouted the entire timeline. Think of it as the oops moments that shape civilization. Forget the glossy textbook version. History is a crime scene of miscalculations, pride, and people saying, "What's the worst that could happen?" Spoiler, everything fast forward. You're standing by the shimmering Mediterranean. The greatest library in history towers above you. Scrolls from Egypt, Greece, India, China, smells of papyrus and candle wax. The air hums with knowledge, then fire. Whether it was Julius Caesar, angry Christians, or just bad luck, flames devoured centuries of wisdom. Crackling parchment, ink turning to smoke, the stench of history erased. We lost plays by Sophocles, maps of the ancient world, maybe even forgotten sciences. Imagine Google Drive spontaneously combusting, deleting the entire internet. That's what Alexandria was. One careless spark, one bad order, and boom, the brain of humanity lost forever. 7 popes ruler and the divided world, 1494. Spain and Portugal are bickering over who gets the new world. The Pope, like a tired dad dividing candy, takes a map, draws a line. Except, maps back then were about as accurate as a toddler's crayon drawing. He gives Portugal Brazil by accident. Spain gets everything else. This mistake shaped languages, borders, and centuries of colonization. Imagine your roommate dividing pizza by just guessing where the slices should be. You end up with the crust. They get all the cheese. One bad line, global consequences. Napoleon's snow globe of doom. You're Napoleon. You've conquered Europe. You're short on humility, long on ego. So you decide, let's invade Russia. In winter, snow crunches underfoot. Horses collapse. Frostbite gnaws fingers black. Soldiers boil leather for soup. Wolves circle the camp at night, glowing eyes in the dark. Out of 600,000 men, barely 100,000 crawl home. This mistake was less of a tactical blunder, more of a cosmic prank. Even Google Maps today would have popped up with, "Warning, not recommended." Lesson: never underestimate Russian winters. History tried this twice. It went the same way both times. 8. The spark that lit World War. On June 28, 1914, your Archduke Franz Ferdinand. You're riding in an open car in Sarajevo. It's sunny, crowded, and you smell gunpowder from a failed bomb earlier. Instead of canceling the trip, you keep going. Wrong turn, wrong street, wrong time. A young guy named Gavrilo Princip is standing there with a pistol. 2 shots later, the Archduke and his wife are dead. That single mistake, not changing the motorcade route. It triggered World War I, millions dead, borders redrawn, empires collapsed. Imagine if one driver had just checked Google Maps. Seriously, the atomic oops of Chernobyl, April 26, 1986. You're in Pripyat, Ukraine. The night is quiet. Suddenly, sirens, a thunderous boom, the ground shaking. A nuclear reactor explodes, painting the sky radioactive blue. People stand on rooftops watching, thinking it's fireworks. They breathe in invisible poison. Children play in radioactive dust, all because a safety test was rushed, warnings ignored, rules bent. The mistake wasn't the reactor, it was human arrogance. To this day, wolves and wild horses roam Chernobyl's ruins, a monument to "it'll be fine." Famous last words are 10. NASA's $327 million math error, September 1999. NASA launches the Mars Climate Orbiter. It's a sleek machine, years of work, a billion-dollar dream. Then, silence. It burns up in Mars' atmosphere. Why? Someone used metric units. Someone else used imperial. Nobody double-checked. Let that sink in. One missed conversion. One tiny math error. $327 million gone. That's like ordering a pizza, paying extra for toppings, and it never arriving because you typed the wrong zip code. Comment below, Team Metric or Team Imperial. 11. The Titanic, unsinkable until it sank April 1912. You're on the Titanic. Crystal chandeliers glitter, violins sing, champagne bubbles. The ship is called unsinkable. Except not enough lifeboats, ignored iceberg warnings, arrogance steaming at full speed through icy waters. Midnight, a crunch like thunder. The air fills with panic. People scream as freezing Atlantic swallows them. The band keeps playing. Lifeboats half-empty row away. One mistake after another. Hubris, shortcuts, denial. 1,500 lives gone. The Titanic wasn't sunk by an iceberg. it was sunk by human pride. So what do we learn from these disasters? History isn't built on perfect plans. It's built on errors, arrogance, miscalculations, people winging it. And yet, out of the ashes, humanity adapts, rebuilds, pushes forward. We lost libraries, we burned cities, we pressed the wrong buttons, but we're still here, telling the stories. So here's my question to you. What do you think is the next great mistake humanity might make? Climate change, AI, or something none of us see coming? Because trust me, history is never boring, it's just human. So we've already talked about Trojans clicking on the world's worst email attachment, popes drawing pizza slice borders, Napoleon's frosty ego trip, and a few other delicious disasters. But hold on to your snacks, because humanity has a long track record of stepping on the world's biggest banana peels. Ready? Let's keep messing up history. 12. The Great Fire of London, 1666. You wake up in London, September 1666. The city smells of smoke already because chimneys are basically medieval exhaust pipes. At 1 a.m., a bakery fire sparks. No big deal, right? Except it's dry, windy, and the fire brigade consists of buckets. Flames roar. Timber houses ignite like tinderboxes. The night sky glows blood orange. People scream, carting away furniture. Rats flee into alleys. The heat is so intense, church bells literally melt. 4 days later, 80% of London gone. And the mistake? The mayor's words, pish. A woman might piss it out. Yeah. Underestimating the fire cost the city its heart. 13. The Challenger disaster, 1986. January 28, 1986. Millions are watching on live TV, teachers, kids, families. The Space Shuttle Challenger is seconds from liftoff. Excitement buzzes like static. Just seconds after launch, the shuttle explodes. A white fireball blossoms against the blue sky. The audience gasps. Silence. Why engineers had warned about faulty O-rings in cold weather. NASA pushed forward anyway. Pride over caution. The lesson? Deadlines in politics don't beat physics, ever. Next time your boss says, it'll be fine, just maybe remember this one. You're a farmer in the Great Plains. It's the 1920s, and wheat is gold. Everyone's plowing, tearing up deep-rooted grasses that have held the soil for centuries. Then comes drought. Now picture it. The sky turns black. Dust storms roar like freight trains. Air tastes like dirt, your lungs choke. Families stuff wet rags under doors, but dust seeps through cracks, coating babies' cribs, filling soup bowls. Millions lose homes. Entire states look like Mars. The mistake? Human greed, poor land management, ignoring nature's limits. Modern comparison? Ever forget to water a plant and watch it die? Now imagine that, but Kansas, August 1947. British officials, in a rush to leave, draw a line dividing India and Pakistan. They use outdated maps, little research, and zero local consultation. The result? Families torn apart. Trains full of refugees, streets thick with blood, 10 to 15 million displaced, up to 2 million dead. All because of rushed decisions and arbitrary borders. It's like someone quitting a job by flipping a table and walking out. Except this time, entire nations paid the price. Question for you, if you had just one day to divide a country fairly, how would you even start? New England, 1692. Imagine you're in Salem. Cold nights. Creeks frozen. People whispering about the devil. Girls claim they're possessed, twitching and screaming in church. Soon, neighbors are accusing neighbors. The smell of fear lingers. Courts fill. People hang. 20 dead, hundreds imprisoned. The mistake? Believing hysteria over evidence. Trading reason for superstition. This was basically history's version of a Twitter mob, but instead of getting canceled, you got executed. Drop a comment. If you lived in Salem, do you think you'd be accused or an accuser? Picture this. You're Britain. You're addicted to Chinese tea, but China doesn't want your goods. So you sell them opium. Lots of opium. Millions hooked. China bans it. Britain gets mad. War breaks out. Cannons thunder. Smoke fills harbors. China loses again and again. The mistake? Arrogance, addiction, and starting wars over drug deals. The aftermath haunted China for centuries. Modern comparison. Imagine your entire country being bullied into accepting a pyramid scheme. At gunpoint. 1815, Mount Tambora erupts in Indonesia. Boom ash clouds circle the globe. Next year, the sun vanishes behind haze. Crops die, animals starve. People freeze. Europe calls it the year without a summer. Skies orange, rivers frost in July. You're eating bark soup and moldy oats. The mistake? Humans settling in fragile ecosystems without understanding nature's fury. Bonus fact, without this disaster, Mary Shelley might not have written Frankenstein. Because what else do you do when you're stuck indoors with bad weather but invent Gothic horror? You're John F. Kennedy, young, confident, advised by men in suits who swear this plan will work. Exiles invade Cuba to overthrow Fidel Castro. Except everything goes wrong. Boats sink. Air support fails. Locals don't rise up. Result? Embarrassment, a humiliated superpower. Castro stronger than ever. It was like showing up to a surprise party. But you're the only one there, and the person you wanted to surprise throws you out. One decision, one failure, and the Cold War got hotter. 1920. The U.S. government bans alcohol. No more bars, no more booze. Officials thought this would make society cleaner, safer. Instead, speakeasies. Bootleggers got gangsters like Al Capone. Murders, smuggling, corruption. People made gin in bathtubs that blinded them. The mistake? Thinking you can outlaw human desire. It lasted 13 years before repeal. Moral of the story: if people want a drink, they'll find one. You're Montezuma. You see strange ships arrive. Pale men in shiny armor. They hand out trinkets. They cough strange diseases. Hernan Cortez marches into your capital. The smell of incense and flowers fills the city. Then, war. Muskets roar. Smallpox spreads like wildfire. Bodies pile in canals. Priestess chants turn to screams. The mistake? Underestimating invaders. Trusting too much. Misreading omens. Within 2 years, one of the world's greatest civilizations crumbles. It's like leaving your front door open to strangers and then wondering why your house is empty. So what do all these disasters have in common? Pride, panic, arrogance, ignorance. Humanity repeating the same mistakes, just dressed in different costumes. We burned libraries, we botched invasions, we pressed the wrong buttons. But here's the strange comfort: mistakes make us human. And sometimes they even create the world we know today. Still here, brave soul. We've already survived wooden horses, radioactive fireworks, and metric Via's imperial disasters. But trust me, humanity's supply of catastrophic mistakes is bottomless. So refill your snack bowl, lean back in the shadows, and let's dive into the next round of Oops, That Shaped History. You might even feel better about forgetting your password for the 5th time today. Ready? Let's keep breaking things. You're in China, 1405. Giant treasure ships stretch across the horizon. Wooden skyscrapers armed with silk sails. Admiral Zheng. His fleet sails to Africa, India, Arabia. Spices, jewels, exotic animals flood into China. And then, poof, the emperor decides these voyages are too expensive, too distracting. He orders the ships burned. Records destroyed, exploration halted. The mistake? Shutting the door on a global future. Imagine if China had kept sailing. Maybe they'd have discovered America before Columbus. Maybe the world map would look completely different. Instead, they went inward. A single decision turned the tide of global power. May 29th, 1453. You're a citizen of Constantinople. Walls stretch high, thick as fortresses. Everyone says the city is impregnable. Then you hear it. Thunder, metal screaming, cannons. Ottoman armies pound the walls day after day. Smoke chokes the streets. Food runs out. Rumors swirl that angels will save you. Spoiler, they don't. And then, a gate left unlocked. A tiny mistake. Ottoman troops surge in. Blood runs through cobblestones. Church bells silenced forever. Constantinople, the jewel of Christendom, gone. The error? Overconfidence. Thinking walls alone would protect them. Modern version? Like relying only on your phone's password being 1234. Yeah, not great. Spain, 1598. You're King Philip II. You've got the biggest fleet the world has ever seen. You want to crush Protestant England. Ships sail, cannons thunder. The sea foams red, but the English use fire ships. Storms roll in. Chaos scatters the mighty armada. Sailors drown, ships splinter, corpses wash ashore. Mistake, arrogance. Poor planning, trusting weather would stay calm. Basically, the Spanish Armada was history's most expensive rage quit. Question: if you had to fight a battle on water, what's the one thing you wouldn't forget to plan for? Yep, the ocean. You're a Cherokee farmer. The land smells of wet soil. Your family's lived here for generations. Then soldiers arrive. The U.S. government has passed the Indian Removal Act. Winter bites your skin. Children cry from hunger. Disease spreads, graves dot the path. The mistake? A government valuing greed and expansion over humanity. Tens of thousands died. Entire cultures uprooted. This wasn't just a mistake, it was cruelty. And the echoes are still here? Hard question. Do you think history ever truly moves on from wounds like this? Rome? The eternal city. Marble baths, legions marching, emperors sipping wine. And then, chaos. Barbarians breach the gates. Senators argue instead of act. Plagues rot the streets. The treasury bleeds dry from endless wars. The empire crumbles, leaving ruins and weeds. Rome's mistake, thinking they were invincible, ignoring corruption, division, and overstretch. Sound familiar? Every time a superpower collapses, someone says, "We never saw it coming." Spoiler, the signs were always there. 1815, Mount Tambora erupts in Indonesia. Boom ash clouds circle the globe. Next year, the sun vanishes behind haze. Crops die, animals starve. People freeze. Europe calls it the year without a summer. Skies orange, rivers frost in July. You're eating bark soup and moldy oats. The mistake? Humans settling in fragile ecosystems without understanding nature's fury. Bonus fact, without this disaster, Mary Shelley might not have written Frankenstein. Because what else do you do when you're stuck indoors with bad weather but invent Gothic horror? You're John F. Kennedy, young, confident, advised by men in suits who swear this plan will work. Exiles invade Cuba to overthrow Fidel Castro. Except everything goes wrong. Boats sink. Air support fails. Locals don't rise up. Result? Embarrassment, a humiliated superpower. Castro stronger than ever. It was like showing up to a surprise party. But you're the only one there, and the person you wanted to surprise throws you out. One decision, one failure, and the Cold War got hotter. 1920. The U.S. government bans alcohol. No more bars, no more booze. Officials thought this would make society cleaner, safer. Instead, speakeasies. Bootleggers got gangsters like Al Capone. Murders, smuggling, corruption. People made gin in bathtubs that blinded them. The mistake? Thinking you can outlaw human desire. It lasted 13 years before repeal. Moral of the story: if people want a drink, they'll find one. You're Montezuma. You see strange ships arrive. Pale men in shiny armor. They hand out trinkets. They cough strange diseases. Hernan Cortez marches into your capital. The smell of incense and flowers fills the city. Then, war. Muskets roar. Smallpox spreads like wildfire. Bodies pile in canals. Priestess chants turn to screams. The mistake? Underestimating invaders, trusting too much, misreading omens. Within 2 years, one of the world's greatest civilizations crumbles. It's like leaving your front door open to strangers and then wondering why your house is empty. So what do all these disasters have in common? Pride, panic, arrogance, ignorance. Humanity repeating the same mistakes, just dressed in different costumes. We burned libraries, we botched invasions, we pressed the wrong buttons. But here's the strange comfort. Mistakes make us human. And sometimes they even create the world we know today. Still here, brave soul. We've already survived wooden horses, radioactive fireworks, and metric Via's imperial disasters. But trust me, humanity's supply of catastrophic mistakes is bottomless. So refill your snack bowl, lean back in the shadows, and let's dive into the next round of Oops, That Shaped History. You might even feel better about forgetting your password for the 5th time today. Ready? Let's keep breaking things.
Wall Street, 1929. Jazz plays, champagne flows, stock prices soar. Everyone's buying, borrowing, dreaming. Then crack. The bubble bursts, banks collapse. Bread lines stretch for blocks. The smell of stale soup, dust, and despair fills the air. Families lose homes, kids go hungry. The mistake, greed. Lack of regulation. Believing the party could never end. This was the economic equivalent of maxing out credit cards on luxury trips and then wondering why the lights got cut off. You're in rural China. Loudspeakers blare slogans. Mao Zedong promises rapid industrial growth. Farmers are told to melt pots and tools for steel. Crops are planted wrong. Fields left to rot. Then famine, the smell of death in villages. Children's cries silenced. Up to 30 million starved. The mistake? Blind ideology. Leaders refusing to admit failure. It's like someone insisting their homemade diet works even as they collapse. Only this time, millions died. Dark, yes, but this is history. Brutal, merciless, and deeply human. Imagine stepping into dense jungle. The air thick with humidity, bugs biting, sweat dripping. Helicopters thud overhead, napalm scorches the ground. The US fights an enemy that knows the land better. Hides in tunnels, moves like shadows. After years of death, billions spent, tens of thousands lost, America pulls out. The mistake: underestimating the enemy. Overconfidence, thinking technology beats terrain and willpower. It left scars across two nations. And a lesson. Sometimes the mightiest armies can't force victory. December 31st, 1999. Fireworks ready, champagne chilling, but everyone's freaking out. Why? Computers might crash because of a date glitch. Planes falling from skies, nuclear plants exploding. Bank accounts erased. Midnight hits, and nothing happens. The mistake? Decades of lazy coding that used 2 digits for years. The fear? Thinking civilization might collapse from bad programming.
Modern equivalent? Forgetting to update your iPhone, but multiplied by 7 billion people.
Quick detour back to the Bronze Age. Why did the whole Trojan War even start? Because Paris, a prince fell for Helen, already married. Kings rallied, fleets launched, blood spilled. 10 years of war for love. Or lust or pride. Depends who you ask. The mistake? Letting personal drama spiral into global disaster. Basically, this was history's first reality TV show. Except the season finale was genocide. Relatable, kinda. Ever seen a friend's messy breakup ruin an entire friend group? Multiply that by empires.
You're in Hiroshima, August 6, 1945. Morning sun, cicadas buzzing, suddenly blinding flash. Heat waves melt skin, silence, then screams. A mushroom cloud billows. 3 days later, Nagasaki. Same story. The mistake? Human obsession with ultimate weapons. Nations so desperate to win they split the atom. Yes, it ended War Rider, but it also birthed the nuclear age and the nightmare of total annihilation. Question for you. Do you think humanity will ever disarm, or are we too far gone? History's Hall of Fame isn't filled with flawless victories. It's filled with colossal errors, sometimes tragic, sometimes absurd, always unforgettable. Burned ships, fallen empires, famines, wars that didn't need to happen. Even simple math mistakes that cost billions. And yet, here we are, still repeating ourselves, still hoping the next time we'll get it right. Let me know in the comments. Smash that like button if you survived this marathon of disasters, subscribe for more, and remember, your worst blunder might feel huge, but compared to collapsing an empire, you're doing fine. Picture it. Europe, 1095. The Pope says, "Hey everyone, pack your bags. We're going to liberate the Holy Land." Tens of thousands march east. Dusty roads, stinking armor, horses foaming at the mouth. By the time they reach Jerusalem, they're starving, diseased, sunburned beyond recognition. And then they massacre the city. Congratulations, holy mission achieved, except it just sparks centuries of bloodshed. The mistake? Thinking violence could solve a theological argument. Modern version? Like trying to fix a family argument over dinner by throwing the table out the window. Paris. Smell of bread riots and gunpowder. People chant for liberty, equality, fraternity. The Bastille falls, heads roll. The monarchy crumbles. And then things spiral. Leaders eat each other alive, metaphorically and literally. The guillotine becomes a daily horror show. Friends 1 week, traitors the next. The mistake? Trading tyranny for chaos. France wanted freedom but got paranoia, blood, and eventually, Napoleon. Imagine fighting to overthrow your boss, then accidentally promoting your worst co-worker to CEO. You're on a Spanish galleon. The air smells of salt and gold dust. Below deck, mountains of silver, jewels, riches from the Americas. Then a hurricane slams in, waves the size of cathedrals, masts snap like matchsticks. Ships sink, treasure scatters across the ocean floor. The mistake? Sailing during hurricane season, because treasure waits for no one. To this day, Florida beaches cough up silver coins. And somewhere Neptune is still laughing. Yes, this one is real. Boston, January 1919. A massive tank of molasses bursts. A wave of sticky brown goo races through the streets at 35 miles an hour. People scream, horses drown, buildings collapse. The air smells like burnt sugar. 21 dead, dozens injured. The mistake? Poor engineering and ignoring warning signs. Imagine explaining to your doctor, "Yeah, I was hit by a molasses tsunami." History can be brutal and ridiculous. You wake up in a jungle city, temples carved with gods, markets buzzing with cacao and feathers. The Mayans are thriving, and then collapse, cities abandoned. Jungles swallow temples. The mistakes? Overfarming, drought, war, rulers ignoring the signs. It's the ancient version of maxing out your credit card, ignoring bills, and pretending everything's fine until your house gets repossessed by the rainforest. Nero's Rome. Markets hum, spices and sweat mixing in the air. Then flames leap across wooden shops. Fire roars for days. Citizens flee with children and goats in arms. Whether Nero started it or not, one mistake was clear: building an empire mostly out of wood and hubris. Rome rebuilt it, but thousands died, and Nero's reputation went up in smoke, literally. Question: do you think he actually fiddled while Rome burned, or is that just the ancient version of bad press? Crimean War. British cavalry lines up, orders are unclear, but the soldiers obey. They charge straight into Russian cannons. Gunpowder smoke fills the valley. Horses scream, men fall in heaps. The mistake? Miscommunication. A garbled order. It's history's deadliest example of reply all gone wrong. You're part of a new English colony in America. Supplies are short, storms rage. You leave to fetch food, promising to return. When rescuers finally come back years later, the settlement is empty. Houses dismantled, crops gone. One word carved into a tree. Croatoan. What happened? Mistakes stacked. Bad planning, poor communication, terrible timing. Roanoke vanished, America's first colony. A ghost story. England. Guy Fawkes hides barrels of gunpowder under Parliament. The plan? Blow it sky high. But someone leaks the secret. Guards search. They find the barrels. Plot foiled. The mistake? Trusting too many people with a plan that requires silence. It's the historical version of announcing your surprise party weeks in advance. You land on Easter Island. Giant stone heads stare across the landscape. But the tree's gone. The mistake? Islanders cut down every tree to move statues, build canoes, fuel fires. Once the forest was gone, so was their survival. Starvation, collapse, cannibalism followed. Lesson? Don't saw off the branch you're sitting on. Literally, you're in America, 1973. Suddenly, OPEC cuts oil exports. Gas stations run dry. Lines of cars stretch for miles, engines overheating, tempers boiling. The mistake? Decades of over-reliance on imported oil, no backup plan. It was the first time people realized the world can grind to a halt if one resource runs out. Sound familiar? Yeah, history repeats. Again and again. High in the Andes, roads glimmer, temples shine, llamas hum in the markets. The Inca Empire is mighty. Then Spaniards arrive. Diseases sweep the land. Civil war weakens the people. Atahualpa is captured, strangled, empire shattered. The mistake? Underestimating outsiders. Internal division, overconfidence in numbers. The empire that built Machu Picchu fell in just years. Proof that even the strongest can collapse fast. Alaska, 1989, a massive tanker strikes a reef. Oil gushes into the sea. Birds coated in sludge flap helplessly. The air stinks of petroleum. The mistake? A drunk captain and poor safety checks. Thousands of miles of coastline destroyed, wildlife wiped. It wasn't just an accident, it was negligence, and nature still hasn't fully healed. So here we are, crusades, revolutions, hurricanes, molasses, tsunamis, vanished colonies, exploding parliaments, oil spills. The truth? History is basically a blooper reel. Humanity learning the hard way over and over. The question is, are we paying attention, or are we about to make the next giant mistake? Climate? AI? Or just forgetting to buy enough toilet paper during the next crisis? Drop your predictions below. Smash like if you enjoyed this descent into disaster, subscribe if you want more, and remember, your worst blunder probably won't collapse an empire. You're still here? Good, because history is bottomless when it comes to screw-ups. We burned libraries, sunk ships, botched invasions, and even drowned in molasses. But buckle up. Tonight we're diving deeper into the timeline of oops, we broke civilization again. Europe, mid-1300s. The smell of rot and wood smoke fills narrow streets. Rats scurry, fleas bite. Within days, people wake with fevers, black buboes swelling, coughing blood. The mistake? Crowded cities with poor sanitation, ignoring early warnings, blaming scapegoats instead of germs. Result, up to 50 million dead. Entire villages vanish, bells toll day and night. The air stinks of burning corpses. And, fun fact, quarantine as an idea was born from this disaster. 30 days became 40, 40 in Italian. So next time you complain about a lockdown, just imagine 4 years of plague. You're heading west, chasing the American dream. Mountains rise ahead, air thin and sharp. You follow a new shortcut called Hastings Cutoff, except it's not shorter, it's brutal. Wagons break, oxen die, snowberries trails. Winter traps you in the Sierra Nevada. The mistake? Taking bad advice from a guy who'd never even tested his route. The outcome? Starvation. People eating bark, leather, even each other. Imagine trusting Google Maps to avoid traffic, only to end up stranded in a frozen nightmare with no snacks. That's the Donner Party. 48, the Great Fire of Chicago, 1871, October 8, 1871. The city smells of smoke already from factories. Then, in a small barn, a lantern tips. Flames leap, wind howls. Wooden houses ignite, streets turn into fire rivers. People flee across burning bridges, the heat blistering skin. The mistake? Building a massive city almost entirely out of wood, in drought, with little fire safety. After 3 days, 300 dead, 100,000 homeless, Chicago a smoking ruin. But hey, silver lining? The city rebuilt bigger, stronger. Proof that sometimes mistakes clear the way for reinvention. 49. The fall of the Berlin Wall, 1989, by accident, East Berlin. November 9, 1989. A bureaucrat misreads a memo. He announces on live TV that citizens can cross the border immediately. Crowds surge, guards confused. Gates open. The Berlin Wall falls, not from a master plan, but from a clumsy mistake in wording. One misread policy ended decades of Cold War division. Talk about history's greatest wait. Did I just say that out loud? Moment. 50. The Kublai Khan typhoon disaster in 1274 and 1281. You're Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis. You've got fleets of ships, armies of warriors. Twice you try to invade Japan, and twice typhoons slam your ships. The ocean devours soldiers. Splintered masts wash ashore like bones. The Japanese call it kamikaze, divine wind. The mistake? Underestimating nature. Believing empire could conquer the weather. Spoiler, it can't. 51. The Great Fire of New York, 1776. New York City, 1776. British troops just captured the city during the Revolutionary War. Then fire erupts, wooden buildings roar, flames leap across rooftops, churches, homes, taverns gone. Ash drifts like snow. The mistake? No one knows who started it, patriots, loyalists, accident, but poor planning turned the city into an inferno. New York smoldered while revolution raged. Proof that sometimes history's mysteries are born of chaos. 52. The oops that was World War II's start, 1939. Germany, Hitler claims Poland attacked first, except it was staged. Nazis dressed up soldiers, faked an incident, then used it as an excuse to invade. The mistake? The world underestimating how far he'd go. Appeasement bought time, but not peace. What followed? 6 years of global war, 70 million dead. Sometimes the deadliest mistake is believing a liar when the stakes are survival. 53. The Suez Crisis, 1956. Britain, France, Israel launch a sneaky invasion of Egypt after Nasser nationalizes the Suez Canal. The mistake? Thinking the world wouldn't notice. The US and USSR both pressured them to back off. Within weeks, Britain's empire looked weak, humiliated. It was basically the geopolitical equivalent of being caught stealing snacks from the office fridge. 54. The Great Train Wreck of 1918, Nashville. Hot July morning. 2 trains hurtle toward each other on a single track. The mistake? Miscommunication? Neither conductor warned. The crash, metal screams, wood splinters, steam skulls, bodies piled, was dead. It was the deadliest train accident in U.S. history, all from a scheduling error. Imagine missing a Zoom calendar update and accidentally leveling a city block. On paper, the USSR was invincible, nuclear arsenal, global reach. But inside, corruption, stagnation, empty shelves, people stood in lines for bread that never came. Gorbachev tried reforms, but too little, too late. The empire collapsed, not with a bang, but with economic decay and political missteps. The mistake? Thinking you can ignore your people forever. Eventually the cracks split the whole wall. Washington State. A brand new suspension bridge, nicknamed Galloping Gertie. Wind makes it ripple, twist like a ribbon. Engineers shrug it off until one windy day. The bridge dances wildly, steel groaning, cars sliding. Finally, Collapse. The mistake? Not understanding aeroelastic flutter. Basically, science meets hubris. Silver lining? Nobody died, except one unlucky dog. But the footage became a classic in engineering textbooks. How not to build a bridge. You're in a palace by the Mediterranean. Bronze gleams, trade routes hum, scribes etch records. Then suddenly silence, cities abandoned, scripts forgotten, populations vanish. The mistake, over-reliance on fragile trade, climate change, invasions. It was a domino effect of bad timing. The result? Centuries of darkness where writing itself nearly disappeared. Imagine the internet vanishing tomorrow. Gone. That's the Bronze Age collapse. Niagara Falls, New York. Families move into new homes, kids play in backyards. Then strange smells. Chemical burns, birth defects. Turns out the houses were built on a toxic waste dump. The mistake? Burying hazardous waste and hoping nobody notices. It poisoned generations, proof that shortcuts always come back to haunt. So, from fleas to famines, from bridges dancing themselves to death to bureaucrats accidentally ending the Cold War, humanity is basically a sitcom where the bloopers kill millions. The question isn't if mistakes will happen. They always do. The real question is which ones we'll learn from and which ones we'll keep repeating with fancier technology. You've made mistakes, we all have. Maybe you texted your ex at 2 a.m., maybe you sent an email with the wrong attachment. Embarrassing? Sure. World-changing? Not so much. But history? History is a drunk toddler with scissors running through a fireworks factory. The wrong decisions didn't just ruin someone's week, they warped entire civilizations. Let's dive back into the pit of glorious human blunders. Picture this. Australia, 1932. Soldiers line up, machine guns ready. Their enemy? Not Nazis, not rebels, not pirates, but emus. Yes, giant flightless birds. Farmers begged the government for help after flocks destroyed crops. The military rolled in, confident. Guns roared, dust rose. The mistake? Underestimating emus. Turns out they're fast, spread out, and weirdly good at dodging bullets. After thousands of rounds, the emus basically shrugged and kept eating wheat. The army retreated, defeated. Imagine explaining that on your resume. Led campaign. Lost to birds. 60, the Fourth Crusade, 1204. You sign up for a holy mission to reclaim Jerusalem. Noble, glorious, except logistics fall apart. Crusaders owe money to Venice, can't pay, so they attack Christian cities instead. Eventually they sack Constantinople, the greatest Christian city in the East. The mistake? Getting sidetracked by greed and politics until you attack your own team. Result? Byzantium weakened forever. The crusade meant to protect Christianity basically gutted it. It's like going to rescue your friend from bullies, but halfway there, you steal their lunch money instead. 61, the Great Leap Forward, 1958-1962, China. Mao Zedong announces a plan to industrialize overnight. Smelters in backyards, communal farms, quotas beyond reason. Peasants melt pots to make useless pig iron. Fields are overworked, harvests faked. Birds are killed in campaigns leading to insect infestations. The mistake, blind obedience to ideology over reality. The result, famine. Tens of millions starve. Villages echo with silence. Parents bury children in shallow earth. The Great Leap Forward? More like a faceplant heard across history. 62. The Trojan horse, see 12th century BC, ancient Troy. The city stands strong after years of siege. Then, a giant wooden horse appears, Greeks nowhere in sight. You're a Trojan. Do you suspect a trick? Maybe, but the horse is big, it's impressive, it's art. So you roll it inside the city walls. Night falls, hidden Greeks climb out, open the gates. Troy burns. The mistake? Trusting a free gift from your enemy. Even today we call sketchy software Trojan horses. Proof some mistakes echo for millennia. 63. The Space Shuttle Challenger disaster, 1986. Florida, January morning. Families gather to watch. Children, teachers, astronauts wave. Countdown echoes, the shuttle roars upward. But seconds later, fire blossoms, smoke curls. Debris rains into the sea. The mistake? Launching despite engineers warning about O-rings failing in cold weather. Management ignored it. 7 lives lost. A nation stunned. Sometimes mistakes aren't ignorance, but arrogance. Choosing deadlines over safety. Tenochtitlan, city of dazzling canals and temples. Then arrives Hernan Cortez with guns, steel, and, worst of all, smallpox. The mistake? Montezuma underestimating invaders, treating them as gods at first. Soon, disease ravages, alliances collapse, conquistadors storm. The city falls, pyramids crumble. What was once a thriving civilization becomes colonial rubble. All from a mix of misjudgment, germs, and greed. Holland. Streets buzz with speculation. Everyone wants tulip bulbs. One bulb equals the price of a house. People trade contracts, fortunes rise overnight. Then, panic. Prices crash. Fortunes vanish. The mistake? Believing flowers were worth more than gold. It's the 1600s version of crypto hype, but with actual petals. Proof humans will always chase bubbles, no matter the century. December London. Fog settles. But this isn't ordinary fog. It's yellow, choking, thick as soup. Coal smoke, trapped by weather, smothers the city. People cough, choke, stumble blind in the streets. Trains halt, buses crash. The mistake? Burning low-quality coal en masse, ignoring warnings of pollution. Result: 12,000 deaths in a week. Air so poisonous it turned day to night. Next time someone says, "Oh, it's just smog," remember, smog has a body count. Rome at night. Flames roar, temples glow red, citizens scream. Emperor Nero allegedly fiddles while the city burns. The mistake? Whether he started it or not, his handling was disastrous. He blamed Christians, executed them brutally, fueling persecution. Rome rebuilt, but paranoia grew. Trust in leadership burned with the city. Lesson? Even in crisis, bad PR can be deadlier than fire. Ukraine, Soviet Union. Reactor 4 hums, engineers test systems, alarms ignored. Then, boom, explosion rocks the night. Radiation invisible, silent, deadly drifts across Europe. Firefighters rush in without protection. Their skin blisters, lungs burn, they die in agony. The mistake? Flawed reactor design, ignored safety, political cover-ups. Chernobyl became a ghost zone, a reminder that the most dangerous mistakes are the ones you can't see until too late. China's Ming dynasty, palaces glitter, culture flourishes. But corruption spreads, taxes crush peasants, famine strikes. Bandits rise, armies defect, walls crumble. Eventually rebels march and the dynasty collapses. The mistake? Believing a glorious past can carry a failing present. Even the mightiest dynasties fall when leaders forget to feed their people. Imagine this: midsummer heat, Thames River low, its water thick, brown, bubbling with raw sewage. The smell? Unbearable. Parliament flees the stench, windows covered with cloth soaked in lime. The mistake? Dumping human waste directly into the river, supplying drinking water. The Great Stink forced London to finally build modern sewers. Sometimes progress doesn't come from vision, but from a smell so bad politicians can't breathe. 1815, Mount Tambora erupts in Indonesia. Ash clouds circle the globe. The next year, crops fail. Frost in June, snow in July, skies gray. Famine spreads across Europe and America. The mistake? Settlements unprepared, governments slow to respond. But, silver lining, stuck indoors, a young Mary Shelley writes Frankenstein. Proof disasters sometimes spark monsters and masterpieces. Ireland, 1845, fields lush with potatoes. Then blight strikes, plants blacken, rot stinks in the soil. Millions depend on one crop. With it gone, famine tightens its grip. 1 million die, another million flee overseas. The mistake? Monoculture farming, combined with brutal colonial policies that continued exporting food while people starved. Ireland's population never recovered. It wasn't just nature, it was negligence. A remote island. Towering stone heads, Moai, gaze over barren land. But once, forests, birds, thriving society. The mistake? Cutting down too many trees for statues and canoes, destroying the ecosystem. Soil eroded, resources gone, population crashed. Easter Island became the cautionary tale of environmental collapse, a microcosm of what humans might do on a global scale. So there you have it. Wars lost to birds, cities choked by sewage, dynasties crumbled by greed, and entire civilizations undone by a single bad farming choice. The pattern? Human arrogance. We always think we've outsmarted nature, outplanned fate, outmaneuvered consequences. Spoiler, we haven't. But maybe that's the takeaway. Mistakes are inevitable, but they're also warnings written in fire, stone, and sometimes bird feathers. So, tell me in the comments, which of these mistakes do you think is the most relatable today? Would we repeat Easter Island's mistake? Or have we learned? And listen, if you're still here, clearly you enjoy watching humanity faceplant in slow motion. So smash that like button, because tonight we're diving into more disasters, the kind that make you whisper, wow, maybe my terrible haircut in 8th grade wasn't the worst decision ever. Dim the lights, get comfortable, and let's tumble further down the rabbit hole of glorious human mistakes. You wake up in a French army camp, snow bites your face, frost crunches under your boots, stomach growls with hunger. Napoleon, brilliant, unstoppable Napoleon, thought invading Russia would be quick. Spoiler, it wasn't. The mistake? Underestimating Russian winter and overestimating supply lines. The result? Of 600,000 men, barely 100,000 crawl back. Frozen bodies litter the snow. Horses collapse mid-stride. Napoleon's dream of ruling Europe left in the ice like yesterday's baguette. Picture endless fields of wheat across the American plains. Farmers plow deep, tear up prairie grass. Crops boom until drought hits. Then winds howl. Topsoil lifts into the sky. Black blizzards choke towns, bury cars, scrape lungs raw. The mistake? Over-farming fragile land without thinking long-term. Families flee in trucks, piled with mattresses, kids coughing in the back. Entire states become ghost towns. It's like nature said, you can't farm me like that. And then dropkick the Midwest, midnight, August 1947. Fireworks, flags, independence from Britain. But borders drawn by a rushed British lawyer split India and Pakistan. The mistake? Drawing lines on maps without grasping centuries of culture, religion, and tension. Result? Chaos. Millions flee across new borders. Trains arrive filled with corpses. Villages burned. Families split forever. Independence came. But so did one of history's bloodiest migrations. Proof that maps aren't just paper, they're people's lives. Okay, this one is absurd. Austrian Army, 1788, troops camp at night. Cavalry scouts buy booze from local gypsies, get drunk, stumble back. Infantry mistakes them for Turks. Panic spreads. Shouts echo in the dark. Someone yells, "Enemy!" Muskets fire, chaos. The Austrian army fights itself. The mistake? Zero communication, too much alcohol. When dawn comes, thousands are dead, and the Turks hadn't even arrived yet. Imagine losing a battle to yourself. Talk about friendly fire. Russia, strapped for cash, decides Alaska is useless frozen tundra. Sells it to the United States for $7.2 million. The mistake? Not realizing Alaska's mountains hid oil, gold, and endless resources. Today it's worth hundreds of billions. Russians still wince when they hear the word Alaska. You're a CIA planner in the Cold War. Idea: train Cuban exiles to overthrow Castro. Easy win, right? Wrong. The invasion force hits the beach. Locals don't rise up. Castro's troops crush them. The mistake? Believing a few planes and a dream could topple a revolution. Instead, it cemented Castro's power and shoved Cuba deeper into Soviet arms. Congrats, you just gave your enemy free propaganda. You're on a glittering ship, chandeliers swaying, violins playing. The Titanic, unsinkable, except it hits an iceberg. Steel groans, seawater rushes in, panic erupts. The mistake? Not enough lifeboats, ignoring iceberg warnings, arrogance of invincibility. Over 1/500 drown in the freezing Atlantic. Lesson: never say unsinkable. It's basically begging the universe to prove you wrong. Russia, World War I. Tsar Nicholas II clings to absolute power, ignores calls for reform. His wife trusts Rasputin, a mystic with questionable hygiene. Soldiers starve, peasants riot, revolution boils. The mistake? Pretending 19th century monarchy could survive 20th century chaos. Result? The Romanovs shot in a basement. A dynasty gone. Sometimes clinging to tradition is the fastest way to lose it. Night, October. Flames leap from a barn. Wind whips fire across wooden houses. The mistake? A city built almost entirely of wood during dry weather. Chicago blazes for days. 100 dead, 100,000 homeless. Out of ashes, skyscrapers rise, but the legend of Mrs. O'Leary's cow knocking over a lantern still burns in jokes. Cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov straps into Soyuz 1. He knows the craft has flaws, but political pressure says, launch. Systems fail one by one. Solar panels jam power drains. Re-entry begins. Parachutes fail. The capsule smashes into Earth, a fireball in the step. The mistake? Rushing space glory without safety checks. Komarov's remains, so charred they fit in a shoebox. The space race had its price written in ash. Britain loves tea from China. Problem: trade imbalance. Solution: sell opium to the Chinese. Millions addicted, society buckles. China seizes opium. Britain sends warships. The mistake? Underestimating Western firepower while drowning in drug dependency. China loses territory, sovereignty, pride. It's like losing your house because someone got you hooked on overpriced coffee pods, except way deadlier. Wall Street, champagne bubbles, ticker tape flying. Stocks climb, everyone's rich, until crack. October 1929, prices collapse. Banks fail, millions jobless. Breadlines stretch. The mistake? Rampant speculation, no regulation, blind optimism. One day you're buying a car with stock profits. The next, you're selling apples on a corner. Modern lesson? If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. November night, East Berlin. Crowds gather. The regime is crumbling. An official bungles a press briefing, accidentally says borders are open. Oops. Mistake? Bureaucratic miscommunication. Crowds surge, guards confused, checkpoints abandoned. The wall falls, not by grand plan, but by paperwork error. Sometimes history's biggest victories come from someone reading the wrong note. Fast forward. You scroll Facebook, take a quiz to find out which potato you are. Cute, right? Behind the scenes, your data is sucked into political campaigns, micro-targeting ads that nudge elections. The mistake? Trusting social media with privacy, believing the platform was harmless fun. Result? Politics warped, democracy shaken, and now your uncle won't stop posting conspiracy memes. Modern mistakes aren't explosions, they're algorithms. You wake up sweating at 3 a.m. It's not just the broken AC. It's because the planet has turned into a sauna. For decades, scientists waved charts screaming, "Stop burning fossil fuels!" And humanity shrugged, hopped in SUVs and said, "But cheap flights, though." The mistake? Treating a global, civilization-threatening problem like a bad group project nobody wants to lead. Future kids might ask, wait, people knew the ice caps were melting, and they still built more oil pipelines? Yep, we did. Imagine ignoring your house catching fire because you wanted to finish your Netflix series. That's basically us. You've got a sore throat. Easy, antibiotics. Except, in the future, they don't work anymore. Why? Because we used them like candy, prescriptions for every sniffle. Meat pumped full of them so chickens don't sneeze. The mistake? Overuse. Abuse for getting bacteria evolve faster than our policy memos. Future hospitals could look like medieval wards. Simple cuts, routine surgeries, deadly again. It's not zombies that wipe us out. It's E. coli with a grudge. You buy a smart fridge. It tracks your milk, nags you about kale, connects to Wi-Fi. Sounds futuristic until it gets hacked by a 13-year-old in Estonia. The mistake? Wiring our entire lives into vulnerable networks without thinking security first. Future historians might marvel. They connected their door locks, baby monitors, and pacemakers to the internet, and then acted surprised when hackers messed with them. Yes, Chad. Yes, we did. Convenience over common sense. Humanity's favorite bug. Fun fact, the world should have blown up at least a dozen times already. 1962, Cuban Missile Crisis. 1983, Soviet officer Stanislav Petrov ignores a false alarm that looked like a U.S. nuke attack. The mistake? Believing machines over human judgment? Almost. Petrov saved the world by basically saying, nah, computers are dumb. But one day, the mistake might be the opposite, trusting the wrong system or the wrong leader with itchy fingers. Future history class might read, and that's why TikTok dances were the last cultural artifact before the fireball. Throughout history, we treated mental illness like weakness or witchcraft. But even today, in a hyper-connected, stressed-out world, we still downplay it. The mistake? Building a society that maximizes productivity and profit, but leaves millions anxious, depressed, or burned out. Future historians may look back and ask, how did they expect to run complex civilizations when half the population was mentally exhausted? Spoiler, they didn't, and that's how you get collapse, quietly from the inside. Climate change? Don't worry, we'll geoengineer it. Pollution? We'll invent nanobots. Food crisis? Lab-grown meat will save us. Sure, maybe. Or maybe we're just stacking untested solutions on untested problems. The mistake? Blind faith that technology always saves the day, without thinking of side effects. It's like duct taping a leaky dam and assuming it'll hold forever. Future textbooks may call it the cult of the techno-savior. Imagine this: one solar storm hits Earth, frying satellites, grids, and servers. Overnight, billions lose internet, banking, navigation. The mistake? Putting all civilization's eggs in one digital basket without analog backups. Future survivors may gather around campfires saying, "Once, people stored everything on clouds. Then the clouds disappeared." Poetic and terrifying. If history is a blooper reel, then we're still recording. The scariest thing? Right now, we are the punchline. But here's the kicker. Unlike Napoleon's frozen soldiers or the Titanic's lifeboat shortage, our mistakes aren't sealed yet. We can still course correct. You're living on the San Juan Islands between the US and British Canada. Peaceful, quiet. Until one guy's pig wanders into another guy's garden. Bang, farmer shoots the pig. That single shot almost triggered a war between Britain and the US over one hog. Soldiers lined up, warships circled, muskets loaded. The mistake? Both sides treating a farm animal dispute like an international crisis. Imagine if World War III started because your neighbor's dog peed on your lawn. Spoiler, cooler heads prevailed, but still, history nearly flipped over a pork chop. Picture this: Strasbourg, 1518, you wake up. Streets are filled with people, dancing, not happy disco vibes. We're talking frantic, sweaty, collapsing from exhaustion dancing. It starts with one woman. Within weeks, hundreds join. Some literally dance themselves to death. Mistake? Local authorities thought the cure was more dancing. Yep, they hired musicians to help the flow. Spoiler, it didn't help. Historians debate if it was mass hysteria, poisoned bread, or just medieval stress. But still, try telling future humans we once treated a deadly outbreak with a citywide rave. Welcome to Australia, where the most terrifying enemy isn't crocodiles, snakes, or spiders. It's giant birds. Farmers were fed up with emus destroying crops, so the military rolled out machine guns. Sounds epic, right? Except the emus outran the soldiers, scattered like feathered ninjas, and basically won. The mistake? Assuming machine guns beat nature. The headlines? Brutal. Emus outwit military. To this day, Australians joke they lost a war to birds. Future historians will probably think it was satire. Medieval popes were wild. Case in point, Pope Stephen VI dug up his predecessor's corpse, dressed it in papal robes, and put it on trial. Yes, a literal corpse trial. The mistake? Thinking this would strengthen his authority. Instead, everyone thought he was insane. Riots followed. Guess who ended up strangled in prison? Yep, Pope Stephen. Moral: don't put skeletons on the witness stand. Unless you're filming a Tim Burton movie. A British captain gets into a scuffle with Spanish sailors. They cut off his ear. Years later, he waves the dried up ear in Parliament like, "Look what they did." Boom. Britain declares war on Spain. All over one ear. The mistake? Elevating a bar fight into a global conflict. Tens of thousands died for cartilage. Imagine a modern headline: World War breaks out over missing nose ring. You wake up in Halifax, Nova Scotia, 1917. Normal day, ships in the harbor. Then, collision. One ship is carrying explosives. The largest man-made blast before Hiroshima, the city is leveled. Thousands dead, tens of thousands injured. Windows shatter 50 miles away. The mistake? Poor traffic management in the harbor. Literally, a scheduling error. The sound was so loud, people thought the world was ending. Imagine if Google Maps glitched and erased a city. Flashback to Greek mythology. Odysseus gets a magical bag of wind from the gods to help sail home. His crew, curious and greedy, opens it while he's sleeping. The winds scatter them back across the sea. Years more of suffering? The mistake? Curiosity killing not the cat, but the entire timeline of a hero's journey. Okay, myth or not, it's a perfect metaphor. Humans messing up gifts because we can't resist poking things we don't understand. Looking at you, nuclear energy. NASA launches the Mars Climate Orbiter. Millions of dollars, years of planning. One team uses metric units. Another uses imperial. Nobody double checks. The spacecraft slams into Mars instead of orbiting it. The mistake? Forgetting to agree on units. That's right. Humanity lost a spacecraft because someone couldn't convert inches to centimeters. Future kids will read that and think they went to space, but couldn't math? Alexandria, the jewel of knowledge. Scrolls upon scrolls, science, philosophy, maps of ancient worlds. burned, lost forever. The mistake. Short-sighted rulers, careless wars, and neglect. Imagine if the internet was deleted overnight. Poof, gone. That's what the ancient world went through. We could have had steam engines in Rome, flight in the Middle Ages, antibiotics before plagues. Instead, we had centuries of ignorance. Future historians may call this the OG rage quit of human knowledge. Paris, 1814. Hundreds of barrels of fermenting wine explode underground. Rivers of champagne flood the streets. The mistake? Storing barrels under pressure in unstable cellars. Citizens waded through sticky, foaming streets, choking on alcohol fumes. Some drank from the flood, some drowned in it. Basically, a frat party turned biblical disaster. You're Napoleon about to face the British at Waterloo, except you've got severe hemorrhoids. Sitting hurts, riding hurts. Commanding hurts, he delays battle, waiting for the pain to ease. That delay gives the enemy time to regroup. The mistake? Not treating medical conditions seriously. Yes, folks, hemorrhoids helped shape European history. Somewhere, future comedians are still laughing. Everyone knows the Titanic hit an iceberg. But here's the kicker. The lookout's binoculars were locked in a cabinet. The key? Accidentally taken off the ship by an officer who left before departure. The mistake? Forgetting the key. That's it. With binoculars, the iceberg might have been spotted sooner. Maybe avoided. Instead, we got one of the most infamous disasters ever. Future kids will ask, wait, so they sunk the unsinkable ship because of a missing key? Yep, so here's the thing. History isn't just shaped by epic battles and genius inventions. Sometimes it's pigs' ears, emus, dance marathons, hemorrhoids, and forgotten keys. The real lesson? We stumble forward not because we're brilliant, but because we survive our own nonsense. And you, yes you, are living in the middle of tomorrow's blooper reel. Now hit that like button, drop a comment on which mistake blew your mind, and subscribe. Because the only thing worse than repeating history is missing the next episode. You wake up in the New World, a struggling English settlement called Roanoke. You send your governor back to England for supplies. He gets delayed, war with Spain, storms, politics. 3 years later, he finally returns. The colony vanished. Houses stripped, no signs of struggle, just one word carved into a post, Croatoan. The mistake? Poor planning, bad timing, and overconfidence. They underestimated how brutal and isolating the New World really was. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened. Assimilation with native tribes? Starvation? Something darker? Roanoke remains the world's creepiest unsolved camping trip. Imagine if people started selling NFTs of flowers. Oh wait, they kind of did. In the 1600s, tulips became such a craze in the Netherlands that single bulbs sold for the price of a mansion. Everyone thought, this is the future. Then, crash. The market collapsed overnight. People went bankrupt over plants that, well, eventually wilt. The mistake? Believing hype lasts forever. Next time you see a meme coin spike 1,000%, remember tulips. Humanity's first economic bubble was literally botany. You're a young woman in a factory, painting glowing watch dials with radium paint. The bosses tell you to lick the brushes for precision. It's safe, they say. It makes your teeth sparkle. Years later, your jawbone disintegrates. Literally crumbles in your mouth. The mistake? Blind trust in new tech without testing. The Radium Girls tragedy did lead to major workplace safety laws, but at what cost? Hundreds of lives melted away now for wristwatches that glowed in the dark. Boston, January. A massive tank of molasses bursts, unleashing a 25-foot-high wave. Streets flood, horses drown in syrup. People suffocate in sticky goo. The mistake? Shoddy engineering and ignoring warning leaks. Locals said you could smell molasses for decades. Imagine surviving World War I only to get taken out by pancake topping. Britain finally leaves India. But in a rush to draw borders, they give one man, Cyril Radcliffe, 5 weeks to split the region. He'd never been to India before. Didn't understand the culture, the history, or the geography. The lines he drew created chaos. Millions displaced. Violence erupted. Up to 1 million dead. The mistake? Thinking you can redraw ancient complex societies like doodling on a napkin. History isn't a coloring book, but try telling that to empire builders. At first, it was a miracle chemical. Kills bugs, saves crops, even sprayed on children like sunscreen. Turns out, DDT poisoned ecosystems, wiped out bird populations, and built up in human tissue. Entire food chains cracked under its weight. The mistake? Believing quick fixes are free of consequences. Silent Spring, the book that exposed it, helped start the modern environmental movement. Proof that sometimes we clean up our mess, but usually after the damage is already done. Millions tuned in live. School kids watched their heroes launch into space. Then, Fireball. The O-rings on the rocket failed due to cold weather. Engineers warned against launching. NASA, under pressure, ignored them. The mistake? Putting schedule and PR above safety. The image of that smoke plume haunts an entire generation. A reminder that ignoring experts doesn't end well. Post 9/11 world, the U.S. invades Iraq, convinced Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. Years of war, hundreds of thousands of lives lost, trillions spent. The WMDs never existed. The mistake? Acting on faulty intelligence and fear. We're still dealing with the aftershocks. Whole regions destabilized, terror groups born. The ripple effects will echo for decades. Yeah, we lived this one. Governments ignored early warnings. Supply chains collapsed. People hoarded toilet paper like it was gold. Leaders downplayed it, then overcompensated. Misinformation spread faster than the virus. The mistake? Underestimating how fragile our systems and trust really are. But it also showed how resilient we can be. Scientists developed vaccines in record time. Communities adapted. Humanity stumbled, but we didn't fall, so here we are. We've marched through centuries of blunders, from emperors with hemorrhoids to colonies vanishing into thin air. The truth is, history isn't just about genius and glory. It's mostly trial and error, emphasis on the error. Every ruined city, every lost war, every ridiculous blunder is really the same story. Humans reaching, fumbling, and trying again. And sometimes, in between the mistakes, we actually get it right. And you're part of that messy story. Someday, people might look back at our age and laugh at our obsessions with smartphones, TikTok dances, or bottled water. So here's the takeaway. Mistakes shape us more than successes. Don't fear them, learn from them. Because without mistakes, we'd still be staring at fire, wondering if it's edible. Now, if you've enjoyed this journey through humanity's blooper reel, hit that like button. Leave a comment with the dumbest mistake you think we still haven't learned from. And of course, subscribe, because the one mistake you don't want to make is missing the next story. Thanks for surviving history with me. Until next time, try not to start a war over a pig.